Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here live today to react to the One Piece 1182 spoilers. How are we doing, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great morning, day, or night, wherever you guys are. There's not many people here today. There's barely anybody here. But guess what? Every soul counts, chat. Hope everyone's doing great. How's it going? How's it going, chat? We got a lot to talk about. We have a lot to theorize. Welcome in, everybody. God bless all of you. Young Smokey, God bless you, bro. King, Dawn of Ascension, Oofmatic, welcome back, bro. Deans, Johan, King, Nomad, Michelangelo, and everyone else. God bless you guys. Glad to see you guys here. How are we doing? Hope everyone's doing great. Hope you guys are having a wonderful morning, day, or night, wherever you guys are. Guys, people were mentioning, or people were asking, what happened to the prayers? I actually don't remember who it was. I almost feel like it was Lucas. So, how about a prayer, chat? Should we start the stream off with a prayer? We could start it off with the Orthodox Creed, followed up by a prayer. What do you guys think, chat? I also haven't been using this stream deck. Are you guys okay with that? Are you guys okay with me not using the stream deck? And my dog is sitting right next to my chair. I'm going to run over his foot. I come to the spoiler stream for spoilers and everybody's spoiled. I'm doing great. How about you, bro? It was me. All right. Let's start with let's just go with, Orthodox Creed. Followed up by a short, simple prayer, chat, and we're gonna get this show on the road. I am looking to do open mic. If anyone wants to join the stream, if anyone wants to join the call, critique me, show me your theory, discuss geopolitics, religion, One Piece, whatever it is, we will be opening up the calls today, okay? But there will be a timer before we open up the calls. Guys, I'm not only, guys, am I saving for a house, right? I'm trying to buy a house. I'm trying to start a family, but I'm going on vacation. So if you guys want to go above and beyond, supporting me, helping me as a human, helping me as a man, helping me as a future father, if you want to go above and beyond, guys, we have the Stream Elements link at the top of the stream chat. Donating, memberships, all of that stuff, chat, is 110% optional. None of you have to do any of that. But if you're feeling generous, Stream Elements link at the top of the chat, okay? In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Blessed are, no, not that. I believe in one God, God the Father, the Pantocrator, creator of heaven and earth, and of all things seen and unseen. We believe in one Lord, Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, begotten of the Father before all ages, light of light, true God of true God, begotten, not created, of one essence with the Father, by whom all things were made, who for us men and for our salvation came down from heaven, was incarnate of the Holy Spirit and of the Virgin Mary, and became man. And he was crucified for us under Pontius Pilate, suffered and was buried. And on the third day he rose from the dead according to the scriptures. Ascended into the heavens, he is seated at the right hand of his Father, and he is coming again in his glory to judge the living and the dead, whose kingdom shall have no end. Yes, we believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the giver of life, who proceeds from the Father, who with the Father and the Son is worshipped and glorified, who spoke by the prophets, and in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church we confess one baptism for the remission of sins, and we look for the resurrection of the dead and the world to come. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. We're starting this banger stream off with a $200 dono from the one and only Young Smokey, the man, the myth, the legend, the people's champ, absolute legend. God bless your soul. Thank you so much, Young Smokey. Chat, can we get some wokies? Can we get some Wung wokies in the chat? This actually reminds me, guys. Young Smokey, shout out to Young Smokey, guys. Young Smokey, I think he said in 2 weeks from now. Starting in 2 weeks from now, Young Smokey is going to be on my Discord server at least once a week for a few hours. Anyone could join the Discord, and we're going to have big parties in the Discord with Smokey. All right? Anyone could join the Discord server, join the voice calls, debate about Mihawk, debate about Shanks, debate about One Piece, share your theories, debate geopolitics, debate religion. Shout out to Smokey. He's going to be holding these events every week on the Discord server. He wants to celebrate the distance we've made in the One Piece journey. He wants to celebrate how far we are in the One Piece story, and One Piece might end one day. So if you guys are interested in growing, making friends, if you guys want to make friends and not be so lonely, if you guys want some feedback on your theories, if you guys want to refine your political takes, join the Discord server. Starting in about 2 weeks from now, Young Smokey's going to be hosting these challenges, hosting these calls, and maybe I myself will have to hop in. I think I'm going to have to hop in some of those Discord calls. We're going to have it on the Discord server. So for anyone that wants to join those calls, or if you guys just want to be in the Discord in general, !! Discord and chat for the server link. Let me actually do that. All right. And without further ado, guys, thank you, Young Smokey. I really can't thank you enough for the huge no, God bless Eli. We will be getting the stream on the roll. We will be starting the spoilers, guys. It is time. It is time to go over the One Piece 1182 spoilers. As always, guys, this channel, this stream, we are here to use our mind to the highest ability. We are here to critique each other's theories. We are here to call out the fallacies. We are here to make good arguments. We are here to expose the bad arguments. We are here to name the fallacies. We are here for the best logic, the best arguments, the most sound arguments, the most clear minds. This is what we do on the channel. This is what we do in this community. Chat, I hope you guys are pumped. Hope you guys are thrilled. This is another stream. This is another great experience where we will put our minds on 200 and we are going to figure out what Oda has in store. Here we go, chat. Without further ado, One Piece 1182 spoilers. Sanji and Zoro are up, injured, but not completely defeated. So right there off the bat, we can already see that there will be people in the One Piece community arguing, hey, if Zoro and Sanji are not dead, if Zoro and Sanji are not completely defeated, what does that say about Emu? Right? But the obvious response is that there is a distinction between different attacks. We have Mihawk at the beginning of the story. He says he's not going to use his full blade in One Piece. He's going to use his little butter knife to fight Zoro. Isn't that letting us know from the very beginning of One Piece, characters don't like a character, all their attacks, generally speaking, are not all the same? Wouldn't you guys agree there's a distinction? Each character, they might have a little light attack. Each character, they might even have a medium attack, and they might have a heavy attack. Would you guys not agree with that notion? The reason I'm pointing out this distinction is because you can then make the case that what Emu did to Zoro and Sanji was a light attack. Therefore, it's not right to wage war on the importance of Emu, wage war on Emu's validity for being the final villain, all because he used a light attack. Which, by the way, the attack he did on Zoro, wasn't he like flicking a booger? That is not a full-fledged heavy attack from Emu. So here off the bat, I hope you guys agree with me. Let me know what you guys think. Chat, if you disagree with me, if you think my arguments are bad, if what I'm saying is complete garbage, say it. Say whatever you think. If my arguments are nonsense, if my arguments are incoherent, inconsistent, you can say whatever you want. We won't ban you. Let me just see some logic behind your argument. Let me see some thought behind your position. Or if you guys agree, let me know if you agree. But that's my position on this. I think it's fairly likely, it's fairly certain that Imu's attacks on Zoro and Sanji were not full-fledged heavy attacks. So therefore, it doesn't make sense for someone, hypothetically, maybe no one's doing this. It's possible that not a single person on Earth is doing it. But in the case that someone might be doing it, it doesn't really make sense that someone would say, hey, Zoro and Sanji, they didn't die. That must mean Imu's garbage. That must mean Imu's weak. I don't think that follows. I see that to be a non sequitur. And if you put the ball into my court, well, Blackbeard had homies with him, and he still struggled fighting against Law. Blackbeard was sweating and panting against Law, but Blackbeard had gang members with him. So I don't mean to pull out a Tukokwe. I'm not trying to dodge the point here. I'm not trying to deflect on the critique of Imu by switching the topic to Blackbeard. I will address the critique. I'll address the criticism with everything I just previously said and add the Blackbeard critique on top of that. All right, point number 2 in the spoilers. Loki combines his lightning powers with Ragnar's ice, using several attacks. Imu counters with fireballs. So, Imu countering with fireballs. Thank you, by the way, Smokey. I highlighted that message. Do you hunt rabbits with cannons? Yeah, so Imu's not hunting the rabbits of Zoro and Sanji with a cannon. And that's what Mihawk said in regards to the Zoro fight. Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Blackbeard playing with Law makes sense. It's in his character for him, but Imu not being able to kill these guys makes him look incompetent. Okay, this is just a silly argument because I could just sit there and argue that anytime a character isn't low diffing someone, oh well, they're just playing with the enemy. They're just playing with their opponent. Like I would call into question, what's the objective standard for a character, quote unquote, playing with someone? I think at this stage in the game, Blackbeard knows these things are life and death. I don't think Blackbeard's a 12-year-old anymore. I think Blackbeard's very well aware that characters in the One Piece world are out to kill. Blackbeard can die. Especially, he just had a run-in with S-Hawk. Blackbeard should know that these things are not games. Blackbeard was sweating and panting, sweating bullets and bleeding against Law, if I'm not mistaken. Blackbeard even used Conqueror's Hockey at the beginning of the fight. So this whole idea that, oh, he was just playing around, I find that to be cope. But I got completely sidetracked. I want to get back to this point of the spoilers. Loki combines his lightning attacks with Ragnar's ice, uses several attacks. Imu counters with fireballs. Now, I mean, there's not much for me to say on this one. I think, like, I guess it's interesting that Imu has fireballs, but I think Imu will actually have. Am I the only one that thinks Imu's gonna have like multiple types, like multiple? He's gonna have access to multiple domains. Do you guys also see that happening? Do you guys see Imu having water attacks, fire attacks, electric attacks, dark attacks? Do you guys think Emu's gonna be like an Eevee? Emu, aka Eevee, there's gonna be water, there's gonna be electric, there's gonna be grass. Emu's gonna be like Eevee. All right, next point in the spoilers. Summers and Killingham are indeed stronger. Summers, for example, carries a giant ship on his back all by himself. They try to continue their plan to kidnap the children. Not much to say here other than Summers is a bum. I don't like Summers. He's awful. His attacks aren't really that interesting. He is extremely immoral. I mean, there's not much for me to say on this one, chat. What do you guys think? Emu did take the water stone. I think Emu took all the stones. I think Emu took the dusk stone. Wait, does Umbreon need the dusk stone, or is Umbreon? No, Umbreon is friendship at night. Emu obviously has dark attacks, right? All right, anyways, I don't know what to say about the Summers and Killingham point. Other than like maybe Oda's buff. Oda had to like push off the Holy Knights of Summer and Killingham to justify the arrival of Emu, right? But now he wants to then buff Killingham and Summers so that there will be fights outside of Emu. So buffing Killingham and Summers, that's probably going to be Zoro and Sanji fight right there. Because remember, guys, the whole plot of the Elbaf, right? It started with Shamrock and Gunko coming to Elbaf because they wanted to recruit Loki. It also had to do with them taking over Elbaf, making it their territory. That way, Emu and the world government would have the giants under their flag. But as Elbaf progressed, the Holy Knights started to fail. Killingham was taken out. Summers was taken out. Gunko got possessed by Emu. So when we look at the full timeline of events for Elbaf, we can see why Emu arrived. But now Oda's doubling back, nearly backpedaling, right? Oda's backpedaling in a way, making and improving Killingham and Summers, again, so that there could be fights, high-stake fights outside of Emu. And this is very normal of Oda, right? Like, when we look at the Alabasta arc, like, sure, there can be an argument to be made. There's an argument to be made that Alabasta does not succeed if Crocodile wins. You know, the crux of the Alabasta arc is Crocodile being defeated by Luffy. You can argue the crux of Dressrosa is Doflamingo being defeated. Main villain of the arc against Luffy. We see that trend throughout the plot of One Piece, but it's really not that simple because there are these lower end enemies, these lower end opponents that have to fight the Straw Hats. We could envision a scenario, chat, where maybe hypothetically, if Zoro and Sanji lost to Killingham and Summers are then going to wreck all the other Straw Hats and probably help Emu take down Luffy and Loki. So you need this system where Luffy fights the big bad, Zoro fights a guy, Sanji fights a guy. You need that system. And it's generally going to result in Luffy winning, Zoro winning, Sanji winning. Obviously, there's outliers. Obviously, Luffy loses some fights, but that's neither here nor there. You're going to generally have the system in One Piece, right? Luffy versus Big Bad, Zoro versus Big Bad, Sanji, or Zoro versus enemy, Sanji versus enemy, whatever. So in the case of Killingham and Summers becoming stronger, getting this buff, that's the narrative purpose here. Give Zoro and Sanji a fight. We need fights outside of Emu. Who's going to have the fights outside of Emu? Usually, generally speaking, pattern recognition applied, it's going to be Zoro and Sanji. Maybe Jinbei. Zoe is the only arc where Luffy doesn't fight the main antagonist, which was Jack. Yeah, there are, of course, situations where Luffy does not fight the MC, or the main villain, like the big bad. There's gonna be arcs like that. You can even argue Whole Cake Island. Luffy did not fight Big Mom, but if we're going off of probabilities, which is all we can really do, like 99% of the time, then I would say the probability here, when we look at the landscape of the arc, who is where, who is not on the island, where are people located in Elbaf, what has happened so far, blah, blah, blah. I think this is gearing up to be a situation where Luffy's going against the main antagonist, but then those lower antagonists beneath Emu in this case, it's going to be passed to the Straw Hats. Now, I'm not saying that it's guaranteed. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. It is for sure going to happen that Zoro and Sanji fight Kittingham and Summers. At the end of the day, all of these things are theories. We're only speaking off of probabilities. If we can't speak on probabilities, then there is no theorizing. See, why did you come in here? Sorry, chat. I gotta stop what I'm doing. Smokey, I'm not launching an attack on your position. We're just discussing, bro. So, all these conversations, all these topics, it's just conversations on it should be conversations on probability. We really don't know for certain what's going to happen. It might be so obvious that Emu's the final villain, but guess what? It doesn't really matter how obvious that is. It being obvious is subjective. Let me say that one more time. Emu being the final villain, Blackbeard being final villain, Blackbeard getting a third devil fruit, I don't know, Davy Jones looking like Blackbeard, all these things, it doesn't matter what you say. Calling these theories obvious and like it's obviously going to happen is a fallacious argument. That is not a good argument. Calling it obvious or calling something a twist or saying something is not something is without a twist, that is subjective because we don't have a universal set perspective. Not all One Piece readers are thinking the same thing. Not all One Piece readers have the same opinions. Not all One Piece readers are reading the Vivri cards and reading the gods and religions and mythos all over Wikipedia. We don't all, not all, it's not true. It's not obvious to me that all readers of One Piece share the same universal perspective on the story. And if you're willing to concede on that point, then you don't really have grounds to say, oh, well, it's obvious. Oh, well, it's obvious Emu's the final villain. You can't say that. Oh, well, if Blackbeard or if Emu is not the final villain, that wouldn't be a twist. That's subjective. You actually don't have grounds for making that argument. So, chat, with this long-winded explanation out of the way, all right, I hope we can all analyze together. I hope we can all help each other make the strongest arguments, make the most sound arguments, think with the most clear minds, chat. Because as soon as we can all be friends and we could all dance and sing Kumbaya and just have clear minds and avoid the fallacies, that's how we have good conversations. That's how we have great theories. That's how we have good power scaling. We have to think with a clear mind, even if we agree on the same conclusion. Me and Smokey can share the same conclusion about something, but Smokey should be like, hey, you know what? Even though, Eddie, I agree with your conclusion, I don't like this reason you used there because this reason right here that you used, Eddie, is actually fallacious because it's inconsistent. Look, you use this reasoning here for your theory. I agree with your conclusion, but you use this reason, but it's clearly inconsistent. It's clearly not a good reason for whatever reason, right? We all got to work together, right? Help each other. We are all on the same pirate crew, all right? So, anyways, let's move on. Kittingham creates his strongest creation yet, MMA. Using the fear of his own dreams, Zaza, the rain goddess whom the world government fears most. Wow. Rain goddess of One Piece being introduced. Zaza is so strong that she easily floods an entire village. Zoro and Sanji prepare for the final fight against Keeningham and Summers. Yo, chat, I promise you, God is my witness. Strike me down if I'm lying. This last point, Zoro and Sanji prepare for the final fight against Keeningham and Summers. Either I read it and I forgot it completely, or I didn't read that point at all. When I was going on that whole rant about Zoro and Sanji fighting Keeningham and Summers fights outside of Emu, that was just like off the cuff. I promise you, chat, God is my witness. I don't even remember this final point. I don't even think I read that point. Zoro and Sanji prepare for the final fight against Keeningham and Summers. L, welcome in, brother. God bless, man. It should be noted, Redon has been spamming posts saying leakers have let this info on the rain god be vague. So, guys, please read the officials. Okay, so that's going to be one point of contention here. Zaza, the rain goddess, whom the world's government fears most. Guys, you could already see this being agenda. You could already see people using this for agenda. I can already see people arguing that the rain god should be scaled in Luffy. It should be scaled higher than the sun god because it's the rain god that the One Piece world government fears the most, not the sun god. So being that it's actually like so left field, right? I would expect that the world government, at least Emu, fears Emu the most or fears the sun god the most. I would argue that that's a strange point. Let me see the official translations. I want to see the official translations and see if that's actually how they say it. All right, guys, I'm putting the link to join the stream voice call in the text chat. We're probably going to do a open mic soon. I'm not sure how soon, but anyone that's enjoying the stream, do the YouTube stuff, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss future streams and content. I'd greatly appreciate you guys doing all that YouTube stuff. If you want to go above and beyond, help me financially, help your boy. We have the Stream Elements link at the top of the stream chat. You can donate there. Help your boy. Your boy's trying to get a home. Your boy's trying to be a father. And you guys know how expensive these homes and diapers are. Maybe that's why Dragon's the most wanted man. Just spitballing. L, welcome in, bro. God bless your soul. I actually don't believe that they've ever called Dragon the most wanted man. Now, they did say that Dragon is the most heinous criminal. I'll give you that. They did. That did happen. They did call Dragon the most heinous criminal. But if you guys want the harsh red pill, how do I screenshot? Hold on. If you guys want the harsh red pill, I can give you the harsh red pill. You guys just got to ask nicely. Just ask nicely. Ask and you shall receive. Let me show you guys something. You guys aren't going to like it. But you guys need to be shown the truth. You guys need to be red pill. So, a lot of people argue, oh, well, Dragon is said to be the most wanted man. Dragon's the most wanted man in the world. He's the most wanted. Dragon has the highest bounty, bro. Leader of the Revs, highest bounty. They said he was the most wanted man, bro. But the manga never said any such thing. The One Piece manga never, ever, ever said that Dragon was the most wanted man. I've been posing this question to One Piece fans for so many years, and there have been a grand total of 0 proofs for it. Can you show me the official manga translations calling Dragon the most wanted man? I hate to break it to you, they never called him that, but I can already hear it. I can already hear it. Someone's typing right now in the chat. But bro, they said Dragon's the most heinous criminal, dude. That must mean that because he's the most heinous criminal, he's the greatest criminal. That must mean he's the most wanted man. That must mean he has the highest bounty. Right? That's what you're thinking, right? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I hate to teabag on your argument, right? But it has to be done. Did you guys know in the official translations of the One Piece manga, did you guys know that they called Fisher Tiger the greatest criminal in the world? But he didn't even have his bounty was nowhere near the highest in One Piece. Fisher Tiger's bounty was only 230 million. So what's the response here? Is this going to be special pleading? Is this going to be, oh, well, I know that they call Fisher Tiger the most wanted man. He's like the most greatest criminal. He's the greatest criminal in the whole world. But it doesn't count for Fisher Tiger. It counts for Dragon, though. I want to hear the reasoning. Let me hear the special pleading here. Why did they call Fisher Tiger the greatest criminal in the world, but his bounty of 230 million cited in chapter 622 was nowhere near the highest bounty in One Piece? It wasn't even close, dude. At the time of them calling him the greatest criminal, his bounty was nowhere near the highest at that point in time. It was nowhere near. So what's the point here? The point here is that people don't actually have any legitimate argument about Dragon being the most wanted man. Now, again, I can already see how some people are going to be reacting to this. I already know. I've been in the One Piece community. I know how One Piece fans are. I'm a One Piece fan. I know how I cope. I know how I cope and seethe. People are going to say, oh, really? Well, watch when Dragon gets when I get the proof when Dragon is shown to have a 6 billion bounty, then guess what, Evil? You're gonna be wrong. I would argue, or I would say, not even argue. I am just simply saying. I mean, sure, dude. Sure, it is possible. It's possible Dragon has a 6 billion bounty, I guess. I mean, I guess it's possible Dragon has the highest bounty. He has the highest bounty of people alive. Sure, maybe that's possible. It's possible, I guess. But my point is where are the good arguments for it? Where is the proof? Where is the evidence? Because it seems like the only argument people had was just obliterated into smithereens. The only argument people had was just put into a blunt and smoked. Because they say Dragon is the most heinous criminal. But wait a second. They said Fisher Tiger was the greatest criminal in the world. But at that time, his bounty was nowhere near the highest bounty. It wasn't even half of the highest bounty. Wasn't the highest bounty at the time 5 billion? But wait, Fisher Tiger was only 230 million. Do you realize how much smaller his bounty was compared to the highest bounty at that time? Dude, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. Do the math. What was Fisher Tiger's bounty compared to the highest bounty at that time? Dude, I'll give you a hint. Not even close. But they called him the greatest criminal in the world. It's the whole thing where fans have created their own additions to the story because so many say Dragon Most Wanted it ingrained in my mind. Yeah, I know, bro. I know. I understand. It's also partly due to YouTubers. I'm not going to name any names, and have some stupid anime, YouTube, One Piece drama and One Piece beef. That's actually so dumb. I have better things to do than like beef over One Piece YouTube. That's so like pointless, waste of time. But I do know at least one person for years they kept referring to Dragon as the most wanted man. I'm not gonna say their name, but you all, definitely everyone in this chat knows who this person is. So yeah, it's more than just the One Piece fans. It's also the content creators. They're also telling the viewer things that are actually not even true, or actually there's no legitimate reason to believe it. Why should I believe Dragon has the highest bounty? Can you give me like a good reason to it, or a good reason for it? But with that being said, let's get back to the spoilers chat. What are we feeling about these spoilers 1 to 10, guys? Drop a rating in the chat. What do you guys rate these spoilers 1 to 10? Let me know. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to Johan. Shout out to Jethan. Shout out to Eli. Shout out to Abigna. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to L. Shout out to Viswa. Shout out to Sway. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to Will. Shout out to Smokey. Shout out to Oofmatic, aka Lucas. These spoilers are kind of crazy. 7 out of 10. Okay, so spoilers, right? You guys know when I saw, okay, so the spoilers dropped for me very, very late at night. I didn't see the spoilers until I woke up. And when I woke up, I had to go to work, right? But when I looked at the spoilers, right, my first thought, I didn't have like I don't have a full-fledged argument for this, so I'm not gonna like defend this argument or die on the hill for this argument as of now. I'm just gonna throw this out there, all right? My first thought when I saw these spoilers was that Luffy's mom was the rain god. She had the rain god fruit, and when Luffy's mom died, Dragon inherited the fruit. That was my first thought. Again, I have no reason for believing this. I have no evidence. I can't make a full-fledged argument, but I just want to toss this out there. That was the very first thing that popped in my mind. Luffy's mom had the rain god fruit. She got murdered, and then Dragon inherited it. But obviously, guys, we've had a lot of streams and a lot of videos talking about Monkey D. Dragon. Of course, guys, we were the ones that put Dragon, Quetzalcoatl Dragon on the map. We were the ones that put Amaru Dragon on the map. If you guys remember these videos, you guys remember those videos where we theorized that Monkey D. Dragon was the Quetzalcoatl? That was us, chat. We put that on the map. We also had the videos of Dragon possibly being based on Amaru. Let me see if I could find it. Okay.
Monkey D. Dragon is definitely the ancient weapon Uranus. You might be skeptical now, but at least make it to the end of the video because I'm going to give you the strongest case possible. And yeah, technically this isn't a new idea, but I have concrete evidence that...
See, this is why we always need to go back on our old videos, go back on our old theories, because they were so garbage. Dude, my old takes, my old argumentation was total trash, dude.
You definitely missed. Also, you probably watched a few videos of mine thinking you're subscribed, but you're not. So scroll down, hit the
All
subscribe,
right,
and like
blah,
button.
blah, blah, bro. Get to the point.
First of all, we need to explain what Uranus even is. That way this theory even makes sense. It's kind of important. So Uranus is...
Oh, wait. This isn't the video I was thinking of, because I have a bunch of Dragon videos. See, I also have this one. I was putting Dragon as the rain god 4 years ago. Hold on. That wasn't the video I was thinking of. The Quetzalcoatl theory. See, I have so many Monkey D. Dragon videos. Okay, this one was Amaru. You guys remember this one?
Monkey D. Dragon and everything surrounding him can be some of the most interesting things ever. Like, why does he have that tattoo across his face? Does he have a devil fruit? Why is he labeled as a world's worst criminal? How does he use wind to his advantage? And how exactly did he manage to save Luffy at Logtown? What if I told you that all of these questions that completely riddle and plague our mind have one simple answer? Like, seriously, one simple answer, one simple conclusion, one simple solution that answers and spoils Monkey D. Dragon's entirety. The Mexican Amaru, a godly feathered serpent that has appeared twice in One Piece. Once on the sculptures of the Mexico-inspired land of Shandora, and twice on the sides of the ship that Dragon literally sails on. Not a dragon, not a snake, but a feathered serpent. And this was once known to not only be the harbinger of revolutions, similar to how Monkey D. Dragon is the leader of the revolutionary army, but also the fact that the Amaru is said to bring winds of change just like Monkey D. Dragon. Think about how every time we see him, the environment is windy. Or when he appeared on his ship, it was all because of wind gusts. Or the fact that he used wind gusts to shoot all of the Marines away that were trying to capture Luffy at Logtown. Trust me, I have a million more similarities between the Mexican Amaru and Monkey D. Dragon, and you are going to.
All right, so what's the point here? Why did I bring up this video? The reason I bring up this video is like that argument, right? Because I'm seeing other people use these arguments, right? Maybe they'll say, well, Monkey D. Dragon, he has to be the rain god because it was raining at Logtown. Or, yo, Vivi, she has to. It is confirmed. Vivi's the rain god because it rained. These arguments can be reduced to, like, I guess reduced to absurdity. These arguments, they're kind of silly, chat, if we're being honest with ourselves. That's what the argument can be reduced to. Oh, well, Monkey D. Dragon is the rain god because it rained. That's what you're pretty much saying if you say, oh, well, remember at Logtown when Luffy saved Dragon, or Luffy, when Dragon saved Luffy? Bro, it started raining. But how can you jump to the conclusion that that Dragon is the rain god based off of that? So you see, if I go through all my old videos, all my old theories, there's a lot of bad argumentation. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand the logic. If Dragon was the rain god, then yes, it makes sense that it was raining at Logtown. He triggered the rain as the rain god. I get the logic. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that. But can we really say, oh, well, it rained at Logtown, so therefore Dragon's the rain god? That is there's a gap there. There's a gap there. How do we not know it didn't just rain because Oda wanted a very epic scene or something? How do we know that it didn't rain because Oda wanted Luffy to get shocked by lightning and survive as the rubber man? How do we know the rain god didn't cause the rain, but the rain god is not Dragon, it was someone else? You see, so there's a gap there. Now, people are doing the same thing with Vivi. People are saying, hey, at Alabasta, Vivi was crying. She was shouting to the crowd. Vivi was shouting and proclaiming that this war in Alabasta, it needs to stop. And then it started raining. So Vivi must be the rain god, right? Right? I mean, you can, again, that argument can be reduced to it rained, so therefore Vivi is rain god. You see how that doesn't really follow? You see how there's obviously a gap there? And to make matters worse, specifically for Vivi rain god, hopefully someone can find me the panel. I hope I'm not hallucinating this. But towards the end of the Alabasta arc, in specifically the manga, didn't Smoker and Tashigi say that they found the dance powder and they were making it rain again? If I'm not mistaken, that happened. So if that's true, that just diminishes, that just undermines the entire argument of Vivi being the rain god, because the only argument people seem to have for that is, oh, well, she cried and it rained in Alabasta. Okay, so see? So what would the argument be for Vivi being the rain god then? I'm curious. If anyone in the chat believes Vivi's the rain god, do you have any reasons? Or is it just a guess? Are you just throwing a dart at the board? At best, growing up, maturing is realizing that at best, most One Piece theories are based off of circumstantial evidence at best. And I can speak to this because I've made a million One Piece theories. I've heard a million One Piece theories. I've seen a million One Piece theories. Yo, I've been there, done that, dude. I've seen the theories on Discord, YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, Worst Gen, even Arlong Park forums. You guys remember Arlong Park? Hey, man, I know how the One Piece theory game goes. But if we're being honest, a lot of One Piece theories, they don't even have real reasons. It's just kind of like guessing. It's just like, I'm going to throw like a random coincidence. That's my evidence. Believe my theory, you know? So nowadays, here's my goal nowadays. My goal nowadays, I want to help you guys. I want to help the world. I want us all to help each other make better arguments. I believe it can be done. I believe people in the One Piece community can make sound arguments. People can make great arguments for theories. I believe in the One Piece community. I believe in you guys, all you viewers, every single one of you guys watching the stream. You right there, I believe in you. It can be done. But the first step for us making great arguments for power scaling, great arguments for theories, is recognizing what a bad argument looks like. So a bad argument is like, oh, well, it rained in Alabasta, so it must mean that Vivi's the rain god. When, first of all, just because it rains doesn't automatically mean that Vivi's the rain god. Second of all, apparently it was the dance powder that caused the rain anyways. Do you remember Tupac Amaru the Revolutionary? Actually, I do, bro. Actually, I do. All right, guys, we're going to open up the open mic. If anyone wants to join the stream, comments, questions, theories, concerns, debate me on whatever you want. Religion, Christianity, philosophy, geopolitics, One Piece. Join the voice call. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. Join stream voice call. And if there's any mods in the chat, if you guys can help me repost this link every 10 minutes, that would be great. There's nothing wrong with circumstantial evidence if Oda is leading to a point he has been building towards. I mean, there's nothing wrong with anything. Like, there's nothing wrong with posting a garbage One Piece theory. There's nothing wrong with power scaling. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of these things. But I'm just simply saying that circumstantial evidence isn't going to get you to where you need to be. Like, if I want to convince someone of my position, whether it's a One Piece theory or religion or a worldview, if I want to convince people of my position, I should be employing real reasons. I should be employing actual arguments. And when we share a One Piece theory, that's usually how it goes. Like, people usually, they're like, hey, I'm going to post my One Piece theory. I want people to let me know what they think. I want people to critique my theory. I want people to buy into my theory, right? That's usually like how people think. No one just shares a theory to ignore others, right? No one actually does that. No one posts a One Piece theory so that they can ignore criticism and ignore the people that agree with them. No one just posts it and then walks away and never reads the comments. People want to see the reaction. They want to see the engagement, right? So what I'm arguing is we should be using some good reasons. Let's not have slop everywhere. No goy slop. Leave the slop for Naruto. Leave the slop for every other manga. Let's keep One Piece clean. Let's keep One Piece squeaky clean. I got theory. You want to check it out? Yeah, bro. Let me hear your theory. What's up, Rich? Tupac Amaru equals Tupac equals Dragon equals Eminem equals Anon. Dude, you have like a equals. Yo, Luffy equals strong equals fighter equals combatant equals king equals pirate equals funny equals jester equals buggy. Buggy. Dragon over Vivi? What do you mean dragon over Vivi? For Rain God? Sounds logic Pokemon. Dragon is the rain god because I want him to be, and I'm usually right. Yo, I love this argument. I really do. Dragon is the rain god because I want him to be, and I'm usually right. You know, some people make that argument, they just word it differently. Dragon is a rain god because, bro, don't you think that'd be so cool? And you're hating on me, but my last few theories were right. Now that the film about Michael Jackson, Oda will reveal Davy Jones is inspired by MJ and therefore Blackbeard. What? How is it Blackbeard inspired by Michael Jackson, dude? Does Blackbeard sleep with little kids as well? I know that man MJ, he likes to sleep in the bed of little children. That's kind of, I don't think that's right. I wouldn't let Michael Jackson sleep in my 7-year-old's bed. That's insane. You know the crazy thing about MJ? He said it himself, dude. Yeah, we just sleep. We just sleep in the same bed. There's nothing weird about it. We're not doing anything weird. We just sleep in the same bed. Like, hell no, dude. Yo, chat, could you imagine being a parent and you let Michael Jackson do that with your child son, your child daughter? Bro, that you have to lose custody of your kids if you would ever allow that. I'm sorry, Johan. That had nothing to do with what you said. Forgive me, dude. Forgive me, bro. Let's get smoky in here.
Yo, what up?
What's up, bro?
So I got two things. One, you've seen the automatopoeia
Zaza.
Yeah, with the rain. I would argue that as solid evidence for Dragon, but as you've gone over it, like, we still don't know enough. But for me, I think what I want to focus on in particular is now that we know that there's a rain god, which I mean we already knew, but now that he's been revealed, what is Emu? And the reason why I asked this is because of the second world. From nothingness, humanity re-arose. The forest god created devil fruits. The rediscovery of the Mother Flame only led to more war with the ancient weapons. So, like, what do you think? Do you think if Emu is the progenitor, like we thought, do you think that he's the forest god? Because I've been saying I think he's the sea god.
Well, so my thing, right, about the gods of One Piece is I feel like we need to have some of these gates open in the first place. Yo, I love the birds in the background. Are you outside?
Yeah, I'm in the background. I'm outside.
No. You stay there if you can, because I just like the idea that not everyone is inside in a cube. Right?
No, I think it's cool. We're talking about the forest god. I'm out here.
Yeah, you're out in the forest.
I'm not all the way, but hey, forest is
close enough.
Close enough.
Okay. Sorry. So, I think we need to have the gates open in the first place regarding, some of these gods, right? Someone was speaking about a storm god, a wind god. I would say that we should at least have those titles or those positions created in the first place before we posit something like that. Like, I feel like it'd be weird to say, oh, well, hypothetically, right? Dragon is the wind god, but then we don't even know if there's a wind god to begin with. So
exactly.
One thing that comes to mind though is like, I feel like if someone was like a master of storm and winds, you could probably have that under the umbrella of rain god.
True. I agree.
Yeah. Now, Emu, right? I think I mean, it's been so long. That video I did many years ago on YouTube, the Quad Gods video, I think I marked Emu down as the Earth God. I think my reasoning was that it's going to be symbolic. It's going to be metaphorical. Emu is the god of the One Piece planet because the One Piece world government has worldwide power. One Piece world government controls the faction of the Marines, which exercises its power throughout the whole One Piece planet. Emu.
Not only that, we had Sebek call Emu the world. So
that as well. So with Emu sitting at the top there, it's obvious. Let me word this carefully. It's obvious that, let me not word it that way. Most people would understand what I'm saying by this metaphorical Earth god of Emu.
Exactly.
But I mean, I don't know if that I would say that alone is insufficient to say, okay, well, must be Emu's the Earth god. Like I don't think we can just like wipe our hands and end there. I think we need to build a substantial case, like multiple strong reasons. And I mean, even I don't see like even if I was to attack my own theory, if I was to attack my own position, I could easily argue, okay, Eddie, you're saying Emu is the metaphorical Earth god of One Piece, but who's to say that just because Emu is the metaphorical Earth god, that he's the literal Earth god? How are you jumping from one end to that? Like, how are you jumping from the metaphorical to the literal? And I don't know how I would even answer that.
Right.
But,
I think we still need a little bit more information, I think.
Yeah, this is only the second god that was revealed to us, so we still got a little more mysteries to solve here, gang.
I mean, we haven't even talked about the God of War or the Sword God. Not to mention Top Musica and Oda saying that Top Musica is everywhere.
I always forget there's Sword God and there's God of War. That always slips my mind. But do you guys feel like Sword God, God of War that's much
like
more
the same
different
thing,
than
yeah,
like Earth God, the Quad Gods? Do you guys see Quad Gods as different from like Sword God or God of War?
I could see somebody easily having the viewpoint that they are. Like they could be demigods and then the Quad Gods could be the chief gods. You feel me?
Yeah, and kind of way I see it, I kind of see like the quad gods as kind of like the four primordial gods that reign over all other gods. So you could be the same god that you say that you are, but you answer to a higher calling, which are the primordials.
I like that.
It's kind of like the Titans before the Olympians.
Yeah, it could also be like this idea that like Sword God and God of War are hyperbolic. Like maybe like they're not like a literal god, but like he's so strong and he's like a warrior that they call him the God of War, but he's not a literal god. And it could be like, oh, like this guy is such a great swordsman. He is so strong, so powerful, greatest swordsman ever, bro. He's a sword god, but he's not a literal god. It could be that, no?
Could be that, yeah.
Versus like rain god, earth god, where those are like primordial people. They have, or at least primordial powers. They control the different domains of the world. You know, like the domains of nature.
Right, because I think the sword god got put upon Ryuma because at one point in Wano's history he fought off devils.
He fought off who?
He fought off devils. Not to mention
he slayed the devil.
Not to mention he slayed the dragon.
Yeah.
And then Loki, as we know, the God of War, we know what big Loki is. So I would argue that everything you just said could be very viable. That's what I would argue.
So then what would be the rain gods? Would her rain just purify the devils that are around her?
So right now, even though I don't have good reasoning, right now, the three candidates I have for the rain god are Nami, Vivi, and Dragon. And Dragon is the one that has the most like evidences. But Vivi and Nami, just because we know the rain god was a woman, this like could be a fallacy. Just because we know the rain god is a woman, I want it to be a woman.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things I want to add, a lot of things that I want to say, including the circle thing that apparently she has. But if I could speak
You're talking
one
about her
point at a,
design?
yeah, if I could just speak on one point at a time. Smokey does make a great point, chat. And I want you guys to pay attention. Smokey, he's usually rage baiting, right? But sometimes Smokey has a good point. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, what a backhanded compliment. But okay.
I'm just joking, bro.
I know.
So, no, but seriously, Smokey raises a good point because, again, like, guys, we're going like off the cuff because the leakers, they lie a lot, they get details wrong, but just for the sake of conversation, just for the sake of talking about what were presented from the leakers, it could be the case that a progenitor, the original rain god of One Piece, was a woman, but it doesn't have to be that the current rain god is a woman. Because let me make this simple argument really quick. We know Luffy right now is the sun god, but Luffy's not the sun god by birthright. Luffy is the sun god because he ate a devil fruit, the Nika fruit, the sun god fruit, making him the sun god. So that, now I wouldn't say that, that guarantees that the rain god must be a fruit. No, we can't. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We can't automatically assume for sure that the rain god is going to be someone who ate the rain god fruit, the Zaza fruit. But I would argue that that's a very much open possibility. So let me finish it off here. With that possibility, chat, keyword, possibility, it's possible that the current rain god is a man who ate the rain god fruit. I don't think it has to be a woman. And if someone in the chat disagrees, if they think like, no, the original rain god was a woman, so it has to be a woman now if they ate the rain god fruit, I would want to know, like, what's the argument for that? Like, I don't know how, like, you would secure that.
So I also support what you just said. As I was saying earlier, when I came up with Nami and Vivi being candidates, it's specifically because I personally want Oda to stay consistent with the woman aesthetic. And honestly, I want Oda to make some of these women go crazy in the end game.
I'm down for that.
Because he never gives women the cool stuff, dog. To some degree.
Now, if I could just toss in one more thing, and I want to hear Vincent's thoughts after, but Eli mentions, I think Shirahoshi is a better fit than Vivi. The interesting thing about Shirahoshi is Shirahoshi's a tricky one because I mentioned this a few times. I don't see people mention it enough. Shirahoshi's father, King Neptune, was called the Sea God. But the sea god was never named in the four gods, the quad gods in Nolan's flashback. That's interesting. But
wait, the sea wasn't named, so was it sun, earth, forest, and rain?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was the sea. I thought it was
no. No, if you look at in Nolan's flashback, I'm going off. I try my best. Maybe I made a mistake somewhere on the lines, but I always try to look at the official, raw, most genuine, authentic translations. The quad gods that everyone talks about, earth, rain, forest, sun, those are the words, earth, rain, forest, sun, from Nolan's flashback Skypiea. In Fishman Island, hundreds of chapters later, when they showed King Neptune and he was speaking in Infobox and blah, 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 they referred to him as the sea god. That's not the same title as rain god, but this is interesting, particularly because
I would affect this. My brain tricked myself to always throw it in the sea because of the rain, and I cannot explain that. I can't explain
I see how they fit. I mean, like, they both deal with water, but the reason that I think this is so interesting is because King Neptune is the father of Shirahoshi. Right, so if the sea god was the father of someone, then you would think like, okay, maybe the child is the rain god because the sea and the rain, those things go kind of go hand in hand, right? Rain comes from the sea, right? Right. So if there was a rain god, then maybe they came from their father, the sea god, right?
The biggest mental block I have with Shirahoshi being the rain god is only doubled by the fact that she's already the ancient weapon, right? So just in my personal feelings, I feel like Oda wouldn't tie a god and a weapon at the same time.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm getting to. So I'm sorry, Vincent. I'll pass the mic to you after this one. That's the point I'm getting to, is that even though, like, I understand, maybe there's other arguments that I haven't heard before. I'm open to that, but I think I understand the argument for Shirahoshi being the rain god. And I mean, it makes sense from a metaphorical view. Again, the rain coming from the sea god, but that would mean that Shirahoshi is both rain god and ancient weapon at the same time. That kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I mean, just because I don't like it doesn't mean it can't be true. That's not really an argument, but that's just my own perspective. That's on my own opinion on the matter. But I wouldn't say like, oh, I don't like it, so therefore you're wrong. That's not how it works.
Right. And for me, I feel the same way. Like, I could see it being that way, but right now my brain is putting up a block.
Yeah.
Now let me hear what you're gonna say, Vincent.
Let's pass the spotlight to Vincent, because me and you just going back. If we're in the boxing ring, we're sparring.
I'm perfectly fine listening to both of y'all go on, but just my 2 cents is that I do agree that having both Shirahoshi as both ancient weapon and rain goddess would just kind of be like putting too much all on certain characters that have very little story plot.
The way I wanted to sorry, Vincent. I just say this real quick and then I'll shut up. My bad. I didn't mean to do that. The way I think of the quad gods is that I want them all to represent different factions. I want Imu to be the Celestial. I want Ryukyugu to represent the Navy and be the Forest God. Let Blackbeard and Luffy represent the pirates. And if Dragon wants to be a god, give him a god title and we'll have the Reds. You know?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Vincent.
No, you good. But yeah, I do agree with you there, Smokey, that it needs to be more divided out there more. It's just that maybe we're looking at some things in a different kind of light here. Maybe Shirahoshi could be the rain goddess and ancient weapon, because in the mural we see her with the trident of Neptune. So maybe it's a dual thing. Like, she has the ancient weapon trident, which is also named Poseidon in Greek, in some lore, and she could be the rain goddess because she commands both the sea and the rain.
Right.
You know what, Vincent? You actually, this is a little off topic, but you brought it up, the mural, right? So as you said at the bottom, she's holding the trident, but the whale is at the top with the rain. So then Laboon is Laboon the rain Laboon the rain god.
Hey, bro, just keeps getting more purpose, man. We got Gunko. Yes. We got him getting the poneglyphs from Big Mom. His dream to meet Laboon is gonna seal the One Piece. Let's go.
But are you guys open to the rain god having to do with this whale or Laboon? I mean, these are rain droplets, right? Do you guys agree?
I'm open to it simply because the rain, wells, water go together.
Maybe the rain god is
tied to a whale outside of Brook.
And maybe the rain god is Zunisha, because he's always making it rain for the Zoans.
That's
I do like
I
like that outside of the box idea.
But like,
this is always coming up with these like creative. I would have never thought of that. I probably would have lived and died never having thought that.
We still need to know why Zunisha is being punished in the first place.
No, dude, there's too many questions, bro. Okay,
so many questions, not enough answers.
One thing I wanted to point out before I forget. So I guess this is from Read On, right? Read On's talking about the rain god, and there's something very interesting I want to talk about in this. Rinon says she is a woman with long hair and 4 arms. Her body is transparent, and we can see that her interior is filled with water. She has a white ring / circle on her back like Emu, but without eyes or enels. So there's more stuff about her appearance. That's neither here nor there for what I want to point out. The thing is, the ring. Is there going to be a trend in One Piece where the quad gods all have rings? Maybe Luffy hasn't unlocked it yet.
Because think about it. The 4 houses
this ring god has a ring.
Oh shit! Go ahead.
No. Sorry. If the rain god has a ring, and Emu has a ring, you might think like, okay, well, yeah, I feel like some people would and I understand why they would do this, but they would preemptively think like, okay, it has nothing to do with the gods. But wait a second, how do we know for sure Emu isn't one of the quad gods? So that's what I'm positing now to you guys. Maybe the quad gods have like these rings on their back, and I don't know what it would do exactly. Maybe it's extra hockey or something. I don't know, but that just came to mind. Maybe each one of the quad gods, they have like the ring on their back. So this actually would point to Emu being one of the quad gods.
Right.
So what do you?
So for me, when you brought up like quad 4, quad 4, right? So when I thought of that, I immediately thought of what Oda could be referencing from any other kind of media. And I was thinking of Harry Potter. We got Salazar Slytherin, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Godric Gryffindor. All 4 of these founders of the Hogwarts houses had special mystical items that they left, like a legacy. So that makes me think, like, if all 4 of these gods have rings, then we need Luffy's ring. Luffy's ring needs to be found. Maybe, like Oda wants to say, Gear 5 is Luffy's peak, right? But maybe he has a mystical item passed down from the sun god that accentuates his abilities. So instead of like a traditional power-up, it's an item power-up.
So Luffy has his own ancient weapon somewhere?
Not like an ancient weapon, like a ring.
Maybe not even an item. What if it's like the final stage of Conqueror's hockey or something?
All right, I'm open to that possibility.
Maybe it's like something to do with like hockey.
I just don't think we're gonna get a Gear 6. I guess is where I'm putting my feet.
You know what's funny is I always argued that there is no Gear 6. Luffy had Gear 5 and said that this was his pinnacle. The last time I brought this up on stream, someone in chat was like, "Oh, when he said that was his pinnacle, he meant at that time." So there will be a Gear 6. As much as I hate that position, I mean, it's possible.
Anything is possible.
Smokey, it's interesting that you bring up Harry Potter because out of those four, Emu's the only one that has his own snake, just like Salazar Slytherin. So,
yeah, the basilisk.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about the Earth Serpent, a potential Loki fight.
Yeah, I was kind of just thinking about that, like how maybe the reason why these people are being frozen isn't because of ice powers, but petrification. Like maybe he's turning the giants into stone by looking at them.
Guys, you remember Egyptian mythology, right? You've heard of Apophis, right?
A little bit. That's the god of darkness.
Yeah, I heard of Apophis. Yeah, that's the god that.
What if these quad gods are doing what they did because they're trying to protect the world as a whole from this said greater evil?
You mean like in the past or present?
Like in the past
currently?
And in the present. Like
yeah, but I can see
time.
it in the past. I can see
what
that.
What if Emu isn't the actual greater evil here, but whatever's trying to consume the earth is, and he's doing his best to fend it off? But everyone's trying to stop him.
That'd be very interesting.
So that's what I wanted to post.
I want to read this message by Eric. He said, "The only reason I say Shirahoshi to be both ancient weapon and god is because the Luffy is the sun god Nika and Joy Boy, who we believe are two different people also. Ratatousker became Ragnar and Loki became War God." I don't think the Luffy comparison is a fair one.
Yeah, I mean, it seems Emu has more gripes with Joy Boy than he does Nika. Like, he knows that Nika is a threat, but I don't think he sees them as the same person.
I mean, because you would just be using like titles for your argument. You could say like, oh well, Zoro is a Mosshead, and I don't know what's like another name they call him, Pirate Hunter. So he's two different people. You know, because like,
Oh shit! I thought his title was Minority Hunter.
Minority Hunter, and I already forgot. Besides the point, Luffy being Sun God, I understand the argument, I understand the position, but I don't know like if that analogy or if that comparison gives you justice or gives you justice. I just realized my mic was far away. Hopefully I sound better. I don't think like that's a good comparison to prove your point.
Yeah.
I mean, Joy Boy's not an ancient weapon nor a god though. Versus Shirahoshi, who would be an ancient weapon and a potentially a sea god. And yeah, I get Joy Boy is like a formidable figure. He's a very important character, probably strong. I get all that. But if we're being meticulous here, Joy Boy wasn't named as a god or an ancient weapon.
Also, my theory. So I've been playing around with the theory, like, how many times have we seen a story where a god befriends a human being, and then that human being betrays the god? So
I can't even think about it.
Since we know that Emu was potentially friends with Joy Boy at a certain point in their life, and we discussed this a couple streams ago, I think, when we talked about like, hey, they got to have a philosophical difference. You know, Emu, these guys have big views on the way the world should be run, right? Perhaps Joy Boy actually betrayed Emu. And that is what made Emu say, okay, well, domination is the answer. Let's go.
Yeah, I would actually love that. I like the idea that Joy Boy and the Ancient Kingdom, they weren't all good. They weren't perfectly just. I like the idea of the water being a little muddy. I like the idea of, oh shoot, I don't really know who was in the right. Because that happens in real life.
Backs up Vegapunk's speech. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I was just going to say that this kind of goes with a theory that I talked about a few streams ago as well. I think we were both there, about how celestial dragons could have turned on Emu and killed all of the Lunarians except him and whoever was King's ancestor. And Joy Boy was the one behind that, but he was the only one that fled. So he's not a great king. He's a coward that ran away from a fight that he started.
All right, so let me offer you a different side of that, Vincent. What if?
Go ahead.
What if Emu, after Joy Boy did his betrayal, going with my other theory and feeding off that, what if Emu, after Joy Boy betrayed him, realized that domination was the key, and he realized, hey, my own race is going to be the first obstacle. So he just genocided the Lunarians. Or what if Emu is a Lunarian, but just like Loki, he's a special one. He's like an ancient Lunarian.
So Loki foreshadowing Emu's backstory?
No, just that they're special class. Loki's a special ancient giant.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And Emu is a special ancient Lunarian.
Sorry, this is off topic. I want to pull this up really quick. So actually, guys, I actually didn't know this was a tweet. I didn't see this. Someone posted this on the Discord.
The onomatopoeia for Zaza. Yeah, I brought that up a little earlier.
This guy, he said Dragon's first appearance was during a heavy rain marked by the za sound effect for pouring rain. So this guy points out that the sound effect za is for rain. It's a sound effect, right? He says, now we learn the rain goddess's name, Zaza, essentially the same name sound effect. Okay, so the person's illustrating that the rain god's name is Zaza because it's based off of the sound effect of rain. Then this person then says, this suggests Dragon is the current rain god, Zaza. Do you guys see how this is a non sequitur? Do you guys see how this doesn't follow? Like, the argument here can be reduced to it rained, so Dragon is rain god. Because there's plenty of other moments in the story where it's raining, even in someone's introduction, and you see the Zaza sound effects because Oda's putting onomatopoeia, he's putting sound effects for rain. Does that automatically mean that it makes someone the rain god? Which, by the way, it wasn't only Dragon in Logetown. What about like the 1,000 other characters in Logetown while it was raining? You see how this argument is completely fallacious?
What about Smoker? He's there too. He could be smoking up enough clouds to make it rain.
Smoker smokes mid, man. I had this conversation with somebody the other day that wanted to bring Smoker into the Final War. I was like, brother, he smokes Reggie. Like, Oda killed Smoker's character. He said, nah, we got Fujitora. Imagine the meme of, I don't want to play with you anymore. And he's dropping Smoker and he's picking up Fujitora. Because they both share a lot of the same philosophical ideas. But the one thing that Fujitora has that Smoker didn't was authority. Fujitora had the authority.
Smoker himself.
About Virgo.
Smoker himself, he saw his way out of the plot for Fujitora. You remember when he was in the hospital bed? Smoker pretty much said, yo, take me out of One Piece, replace me with Fujitora.
Now, let me ask you this, though, since we are talking about Smoker. What do you think he's towing on the back of his motorcycle? Remember the last time that we saw him? When they were showing,
I don't know.
What could that be? Because, like, I looked at it one time, I was like, is that a poneglyph? Nah, it couldn't be a poneglyph.
Bro, there's no way this dude Smoker has the final. He's the man with the burn scar.
I was like, well,
he's been burned. He's been burned enough times in this whole show.
Yeah, good. And Smoker's a bum, dude.
It's
he's smoking that Reggie, man. That Reggie.
Joy Boy was in the right. He was just misunderstood. Joy Boy must have discussed about domination of Emu, and Emu misunderstood him after Emu felt powerless in his life from some backstory / event. I mean, it's just like a guess, right? I don't know, man. We just don't have too much info,
which is crazy. He's given us so many answers, and they're leading to so many more questions. We're just stuck in Oda's holding us hostage, bro. We all have Stockholm syndrome, and Oda is our freaking kidnapper.
I would say though, like I definitely lean towards the conclusion, or I guess the possibility that the conflicts between Emu and Joy Boy was about freedom versus control, freedom versus like state, something like that.
Yeah, it's amazing that how the last 3 chapters have just been so action packed, and this one just leaves us confused as hell, man.
Yeah, and not only that, this chapter timed with a Golden Break week is kind of crazy.
I know, and now we have another break this coming week.
Yep, but for what I've seen so far, if we can get through this next break, I'm hearing we're getting 3 chapters in a row.
Bro, break next week, chat.
I'm hearing after that we get 3 chapters in a row.
Dude, but
yo,
what's good, bro?
Yo, can you hear me?
Nomad.
We got Nomad in here? Yeah, I can hear you.
Do I sound crazy?
They're saying
I
the
did
moon, the
see the
rain god.
I did see the idea that since Dragon was first thing with the raindrops, that he must be the Zaza, and it was right there in our face. The, I do understand what you're saying, Threevil, that it's non-secular, but I also do realize that if we're going by when Oda was supposed to end the series, then he could have very well put that right in our face at that very moment. That's really kind of what I got to say about that part about it. So I'm like, it could have some traction, and it could be like, whoa, it could be one of those another moment where Oda did this way back when. You know what I'm saying? With Streets
So
to
you're so
his
let
master
me
class.
make sure I understand what you're saying, Nomad.
But that
Are
you
you
know that
saying that
presupposes the theory is true.
I was going to say, are you, so this is mostly based off the fact that Oda said he wanted to end One Piece, but he's continued going. So you're saying like he
Yes,
put that in our face, thinking that he would conclude it already.
yes, and this is him opening it up and saving it for later, but he already put the crumbs there.
But so what I would say is that perspective, it presupposes that the theory is true though in the first place. Like that only makes sense if he is the rain god. That like that the argument, like because the argument, and correct me if I'm misunderstanding you. I don't want to misinterpret what you're saying and twist what you're saying. I do not want to do that, bro. But it sounds like the argument is Oda, he's a very good writer. He likes to foreshadow things. He likes to plan things out way in advance, which by the way, I agree with that. So
I also agree with that.
Oda had the raindrop sound effect at Dragon's introduction, so that later on, he could be labeled or shown, revealed as the rain god. So Dragon's probably the rain god. But you see how this argument, it presupposes that the theory is true to begin with. It's like it's a circular argument because you would be saying that the raindrops, Zaza, proves that Dragon's the rain god, and Dragon is the rain god. That's why it had the raindrops. So it's like it's a vicious circle, right? You need
Yeah,
him to be the rain god for that argument to work.
in order
By the
for
way,
it to make sense. Yes, yes,
by the way,
and that's basically what I'm saying. I agree. I agree with both. I see both sides of it because only if it becomes true that Dragon has eaten the rain god fruit, that scene makes sense. And because you're right, there has been other scenes where we had the Zaza rain effect. So like I said, I understand it's kind of like it's too in your face for it to be correct, almost, you know, because I think that's where you're getting at. Like it's too in your face for it to be correct.
I mean, I'm not even against Dragon being rain god. I think when I did my quad gods video, when I was like throwing out all my takes for like the 4 gods, I think I put Dragon as, yeah, I did. Look, I put Dragon as the rain god. So I'm not even like against
Right.
him being the rain god. I want to look and see like, okay, is this a good argument? Is this a bad argument? Is this in the middle? How can we make the argument better? What are better evidences? You know, like that's just what I'm like how I'm seeing it. I'm not even against him being rain god per se.
and by the way, just to echo what Threeville was saying earlier on in the stream, bro, when you said when you brought up Luffy's mom and that Dragon got the fruit that way, I said holy shit, because I had the exact same thought. Because I was like, all right, Oda, let's bring in Tritoma, give Dragon a little more sappy of a backstory, give Luffy his birth and his origin from a god. You know, but I have no evidence for that. But I think it would be a good way for Oda to tie in, hey, that old button that we keep wanting Oda to press. Tell us about Luffy's mom. Here you go.
Yeah, I mean, again with the SBS, I would go out on a limb, and I would assume that Oda has had a million questions about Luffy's mom. He
Yes,
has to. he has to know that the One Piece community, One Piece fans, they are very interested in that topic. Is he just gonna not feed the streets?
He's not gonna feed the streets. It's
You
gonna
don't
be
think
one
so?
of the things that's no, I don't think it's that important.
I mean,
I don't
there
think
are
that
examples.
I don't think
There
it's
are
that
examples.
important to the story when he's
There
trying to end it.
there
But
are
on another topic, y'all, I want to bring up about the spoilers today when they say that Zoro and Sanji are preparing to fight the the the
Killing
God
him.
Knights.
Sanji killing him.
Yes, they're so that means did anyone else realize that means that when Emu attacked both of them, he didn't one shot them like everyone claimed that happened. They actually are back up and ready to fight again. So for Emu to be as powerful as he's looking, like, and he's looking very badass, by the way. But I don't like. How can you explain how Zoro and Sanji is both getting back up from getting hit by a Umu attack head on, straight up?
I
No,
would
so
like,
I would argue that it was, and I understand the position. Emu is supposed to be like super powerful. He should be like killing everybody. I understand that. I would say that there's a distinction between attacks. Not all attacks from characters are gonna be like Luffy's. His like not all of his attacks are Gun. Like Luffy has attacks that are on the lower end. So I think this is a case where Emu was throwing out light attacks, underestimating Zoro and Sanji.
not only that, his goal was to get to Loki and Luffy, so he just moved
oh,
them out the way. But Threeville
okay,
said
so
it
that kind of makes
earlier.
sense then. Okay, go ahead.
Threeville said it earlier. We shouldn't use the argument that Zoro and Sanji are back up to downscale Emu because he put it as a light attack. I'm gonna go a different way and say like Emu wasn't trying to win a fight. He was just trying to get him out the way.
Get out of
If
my way, bro!
anything,
Like flicking them like a booger. Like, bro, get out of here.
if anything, this kind of would
Yeah,
upscale
but
both Zoro and
he one
Sanji
shot at them
because they were able
giants.
to endure that.
You know what I'm saying? But that
Oh, did you cut out, bro? Did you
Yeah,
cut
I think
out?
he cut up. Yeah, I think he cut out.
Mhm.
y'all the only ones that got right back up. So it does.
Hey, Nomad, I think you cut out at the beginning.
Oh, I was saying it does speak to the strength of Zoro and Sanji because
Oh no,
He cut out
no,
again.
he's getting cut out again. He's getting cut off.
Damn.
Maybe it's his
freaking
connection.
internet. Oh Lord,
Oh, are you there, bro?
can you hear
I think
me
I hear
now?
you. Yeah,
You hear me?
I
Yeah.
hear you now. I
All
hear you
right.
now.
I said that makes sense because Emu was picking them off like
No way,
Oh no way! That's
Dude!
that is 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's like me when my mic was going full regard.
You never go full regard.
Never go full regard. What's good,
yeah,
Mo?
Amy.
Okay, we hear you again. It's like every time you begin saying your explanation, it just cuts you off, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, are you there?
How about we just continue on?
I want to hear what you have to say. I really do. I'm too invested in this. It keeps cutting you out. I gotta hear what this take is.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're
now
blue
we're-
balling us like Oda. Come on, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
we're-
like blue
We're
ball.
intrigued, dude. Come on.
It's like he's a
You've piqued our
leaker just giving us
curiosity.
hints. He says, "Okay, that makes sense because Zoro and Sanji," and then it cuts him. Like, bro, it's like he's like the leakers, man.
You piqued our curiosity, bro. Spill it.
He needs to spill the beans.
If I had to venture a guess, he's gonna say it just upscales the wings of the Pirate King.
Yeah, I think
That
he's
is
gonna
good
say
for
Yeah, I
that.
would say-
Sanji and Zoro.
It
I'd
speaks
say
to
the same
them.
thing. It upscales them, especially Sanji since he got hit harder.
And upscale for Sanji and Zoro, I don't mind that because they are big players in this.
You know, I actually like that. I think it's very much possible that this wasn't a real attack from Emu, but it's still a Zoro Sanji upscale at the same time.
I mean,
I'm okay with that.
Wouldn't we all wouldn't you guys agree that Emu is probably way higher than Zoro and Sanji, but tanking a light attack from Emu is still impressive?
Right. I'm giving Loki the same props. Anybody who's fighting Emu
Loki's
and not
going
immediately
nuts.
going, anybody who's fighting Emu and not immediately going down deserves praise. And y'all know how much I like to bag on Zoro and Loki, but I'll give them their upscale here. They absolutely deserve it.
Hey, I don't know, man. Everyone's gonna hate this take. It is what it is, but this Loki versus Inu is looking like Odin versus Kaido. Remember how crazy Odin was going on Kaido? Odin almost killed Kaido, and Odin was the one that ultimately died.
Which means Loki is going to do some major damage on the Emu before Luffy even gets up there.
Yeah, but because people will say, "Oh, well, there's no way Loki can die in his intro arc."
So if this fight is like Kaido and Odin, it's gonna be Ragnar. Ragnar's gonna be Momo.
I was gonna say Colin, but
I thought
Colin.
Ragnar over Olgin. I thought the little baby squirrel was too strong.
No, Ragnar is sick, man. Bro, Ragnar supremacy.
Never.
The only gripe I have with Ragnar is that I don't want its face popping up on the hammer every time Loki takes a swing. Like, get rid of that. That's the one gripe I have with it.
Shoot, I forgot what we were originally talking about.
Zoro
Sanji.
Yeah.
I think it was after that.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about Loki upscaling.
Oh, I remember. So, I mean, the usual rebuttal is that Loki's not going to die in his intro arc, but I mean, why not though? Like,
I'm open to Loki dying. You know this.
I mean, I wouldn't even. I'm not like pro Loki dying. I'm not like dying on the hill for it. I'm not even trying to make a theory per se. But I think like someone saying there's no way Loki can die in his intro arc. I think it's fair to say why not.
I mean, let's take a look at everything Loki has done so far. He's been impaled by Cerberus, impaled by Emu, attacked by 8 rocks, and fell off a tree multiple times, both as a child and as an infant, and has probably gone through various amounts of torture by his twisted uncle and anyone else that's taking care of him. So,
not to mention, Shamrock put him on the mend for 6 months. Gerd said it'll take 6 months for Loki to recover just from the injuries Shamrock put on him.
Yeah, so
really,
he's very,
and
he's going straight into battle against.
You know what that means? Big shanks.
Oh, brother. Dude, I need to reread Elbaf. I'm not remembering any of these details.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I agree. I need to reread Elbaf like a binge. So that's what I think I need. A binge, that way I can write down my notes instead of like week to week.
Well, I'd like to read the manga and the anime at the same time. So Elbaf now being animated is so good. And did you see that intro for Loki?
Vincent just broke my freaking mind. Why haven't I been reading the manga as I'm watching the anime? Holy crap! I can't be this stupid.
Dude, wouldn't the manga be like out of sync with the anime? Wouldn't that be like a little annoying?
Well, you would have to sync it up. Yeah, it'd be annoying, but you'd have to sync it up.
Man, if only the anime was just like normal, just sync it up with the manga. Good.
Well, now
by the way, we got info on the remake. But go ahead, Vincent. Yeah. I'll say my part. I don't want to distract your thought. I know you're on a stream.
I was just going to say that I was just gonna say that now that they've done seasonal, the animation is a lot better with it. That's
So
all.
Is there a trailer?
Here's what I was gonna say. The Wit anime they have released that they are releasing all their episodes at once. The episodes will stop. However many episodes we get, it'll stop right close to when Nami takes the Sunny. So basically, we're getting through Sanji's backstory. So we're getting 50 chapters, I think, with like 8 episodes.
Yo, is it normal to prefer when shows just drop the whole season at once?
I like getting the season at once. Some people like getting it weekly, like with some of the way that TV seasons are going on right now. I prefer getting the season all at once in a binge.
Bro, screw the weekly. I want a show. Just drop the whole season on the release day.
Yeah, nothing beats a good binge. Nothing.
Yeah. Bro, I love binge watching things, not for the sake of like wasting an entire day, but like when you really enjoy like a show, like I want to keep watching, bro. I don't want to have to sit there and like, for an example, I finished Lean Cage season 2. Now I have to just sit here like twiddling my thumbs, like when the hell is season 3, dude? Like this sucks. I already deal with this with One Piece, man. I read a banger chapter and I'll break next week. Like, bro.
Yeah, I know, and it hurts even worse with anime because anime is so unpredictable. You'll get into an anime, get to the last season, finish the last season, and be like, "Hello, where's the rest?" Oh, that anime got canceled. The manga's not going on. And,
there's a delay. They don't have no release date. There's no announced date. Like, bro,
they replaced the person that you cared about with someone else.
Exactly.
Make TV great again.
Make TV great again. I lost the message, but Eli in the chat. Okay, I found it. He said Dragon is gonna show up with Laboon as a peace offering to the Straw Hats. I don't know why that was so funny to read.
But what's he offering peace for? Why peace?
Yeah, like why the peace offering? Like,
and why
Dragon
specifically Laboon? Why
like when did
Laboon?
Dragon and Laboon become friends?
Yo, did Dragon do something to my girl Robin? Like, why are we offering peace?
Yeah, exactly. I thought Robin was cool with Dragon, and she just never really talked to Luffy about that.
I think she stayed with Dragon
or
for
did
like
she?
during the time skip.
Yeah, she was with the Revs the entire time, probably soaking up knowledge.
Dean's Life said maybe Joy Boy was too carried away with his freedom. I can definitely see something like that. I can imagine a scenario where Oda wants the reader to consider their worldview, consider their political stance, things like that. It's very easy for people, especially, when you think about the average anime and manga, it's like, yeah, freedom, like free people. Like, it's very easy to have such that, like, a simple-minded approach, like, oh, like, there's a bad guy and he has all the power and there's slaves. Like, it's so, like, one-dimensional and so played out. I almost hope that when it comes to the conflict between Emu and Joy Boy, the Void Century, the Ancient Kingdom, I hope it's more complex than that. Like, not just like oh, there's a really mean guy and he has like so much power and like we want to be free. Like that's so played out. Maybe it'll be a scenario where freedom is not as easy as people make it seem. Like there are drawbacks to freedom. If freedom is abused, then rights are up in the air. If freedom is abused, it's hard to be protected by the state. If freedom is abused, people can destroy cultures and identities. So I don't think like freedom is always like this very simple, obvious, easy choice, this easy realm to decipher and live in. I could see a scenario where it's not that simple for Emu and Joy Boy.
And that supports to me the simple fact of something you said a couple streams ago, and I agree with. Like the best villains are the ones where you look at the guy and you're like, you're doing bad stuff, but you kind of have a point.
Exactly.
And Anthony Starr, the guy who plays Homelander, was asked this, and he said one of his favorite villains that he's seen recently is Thanos. Because although Thanos was crazy, he had a point. The universe only has enough resources.
And again, it was to keep them from something that was even worse than him that would consume them all.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like I think many readers, many authors, and we always have to remember that not only does Oda receive SBS questions, but Oda has a team of people that work on storylines regardless of the medium. They are aware that the average person is a normie, right? Normies, they like when a story, whether it's a movie, show, book, whatever, they like when they're looking at a character and they can see themselves in that character. You know, they feel very connected to the story that way because this character resonates with me. I feel like Robin. I feel like, I don't know, Luffy, whatever. That kind of logic can be applied to a villain. Why not? Why can't an author make a villain where, yeah, they do bad things, but when it comes to their belief system, their trauma, their upbringing, it could be something that a lot of people experience. It could be something very relatable to the normie. So I say that to back up the possibility or the idea that Emu, you know, other One Piece villains, the conflict of the Void Century is like, yo, Emu, like what Smokey said, Emu did these bad things, but wait a second, Emu's worldview makes a lot of sense. So the point of this, though, is to then make the reader ask themselves, if Emu has a great worldview that you agree with, then why do you disagree with the actions that Emu did? What if that worldview necessarily leads to Emu's actions? Because if his worldview necessarily leads to his actions and decision making, are you sure you subscribe to that worldview?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you back, Nomad?
If y'all can hear me, I ain't trying to talk too much.
Go,
We hear you, bro.
finish your thought earlier.
Yes,
I don't
please,
even
let us hear
remember
what you had to say. It was about Sanji and Zoro.
Yeah, it's in the wind now.
Damn, he blue balled us.
Look, I'll remind you. We were talking about how Emu was just like light attacking Zoro and Sanji, and I think you were gonna say that this speaks to the strength of Zoro and Sanji. Me and Smokey, we thought that's what you were.
I was basically agreeing with what you were saying because what I asked was how come Emu, when he one-shotted everyone, Zoro and Sanji were the only ones to get back up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of speaks to the strength of the team. And it kind of can lead towards the ongoing Sanji Zoro debate. You know, they both got back up. So what is it like? So now where do we put this on the scale of who's stronger and who's not?
Okay, so for me,
Who
I
took the
think
harder lick?
for
Who took the
for
harder
me,
lick? Now you know what I'm saying? Like
I
so
think
for me, the Sanji and Zoro debate is done, dude. I think Zoro is stronger. I think it's not a debate. But Oda feeds into it. So
he does.
I always complain about Mihawk and Shanks, and Oda feeds into it. So it's the same thing. But I'll let Threeville tell you what he thinks.
I think
Because
I agree with I agree with Smokey. I think Zoro is stronger than Sanji, but I always got to remind people, just because Zoro's stronger than Sanji, I don't think you could then say, okay, well, Zoro's a better character than Sanji then. Like, no, not really. Like, a character could be stronger than someone else, but just because they're strong doesn't mean, like, they have an interesting persona or they're even important to the story, or it doesn't really say much. So, like, you can easily hold this idea that Sanji's an awesome character, but he's not as strong as Emu. Sanji's an awesome character, but he's not stronger than Kaido. Or Sanji's an awesome character, but he's not stronger than Zoro. As far as taking the worst attack, I actually think it was Sanji that took the harder attack. But we got to be careful because just because Sanji withstood a stronger attack than Zoro I'm not saying you're saying this, but just because Sanji took the stronger attack doesn't mean Zoro couldn't take that attack as well. It just so happened that he took a weaker attack.
For me, it's kind of like I think the concept of their individual strength is I don't want to say equal, but pretty damn close. And in the end, don't you want a sword and shield of equal strength, regardless of that? And we could put it into two different ways. Zoro is strong because of his training and endurance. Sanji is strong because of his speed and modifications that were made by Germa. So both of them are of equal strength, but just in different ways. Zoro is still one of the stronger swordsmen. Sanji is still one of the stronger cooks.
Exactly, because like when you see Zoro and Sanji on the ship, right, guys? You know those blissful young days where we would just see the Straw Hats on the ship. What does Zoro always have? His freaking barbell. What is Sanji doing? He's cooking. They're doing what they are supposed to do. Zoro has his strength because he trains. He lifts that dumbbell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then that can be waged against Sanji because someone could easily argue, why should Sanji be stronger than Zoro? Like Sanji's whole goal in life isn't to be the strongest chef in the world. And yes, someone could say, oh, well, he's a part of the Pirate King crew. He needs to defend Luffy. I understand as much, but I think this is actually going to be kind of complex actually, because there would be less emphasis on strength for Sanji, but this is complex. This is tricky because just because there's less emphasis on strength for Sanji doesn't necessarily mean that he has to be weaker than Zoro. Like someone, just because, let me word this carefully and slowly. Just because Sanji would care less about strength than Zoro doesn't mean he's weaker than Zoro. I don't think that follows. Like you can see a connection there. Like if someone cared a lot about being strong, they would train, they would work out, they would push themselves to the limits. I get that, but I don't think it's enough to justify. I don't think like, oh well, Sanji he's not as focused on growing and being the strongest person in the world, strongest chef in the world, so he must be weaker than Zoro. I don't think so. There's probably like Emu. I mean, like, is Emu hyper obsessed with being the strongest in the world? Probably not like Zoro. I think Zoro's more obsessed with being like the strongest swordsman in the world. I don't think Emu's obsessed with being the strongest black magic user in the world. I don't think that's like Emu's persona. I get Emu's controlling and stuff, but yet Emu's going to be one of the strongest characters in the plot.
Right.
I don't know if that might have been a whole like jumbled mess of garbage, but maybe you guys understand where I'm coming from. I don't know.
No, it makes sense because it's almost like, even though we have our preferences, it's almost like when the sliders are added together when you're creating your character. You know, say we all like this, we all like that, but the sliders can only go up to a certain amount, and you can only put those sliders on a limited amount of things, even though they have a bunch of things you could, you know what I'm saying, you could suit up. And at the end of the day, their character still is a 99, regardless of where you put your sliders at. So it's almost like we almost need to come to a resolution that there probably isn't a stronger character when they're probably equal strength.
So you mean kind of like in an RPG, like for an example, like Elden Ring, like you and I, we both had we both had like 99 points, but we just we used them differently, but we both got 99 points.
Exactly. So that would make y'all equal, honestly.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
and then it would all just come to preference.
Argument
you know what I'm saying? Your wizard is 99, but my swordsman is a 99.
So the difference
who's going to win that battle?
So the difference is where you allocate those points, because some things matter more than others. You feel me?
Yeah.
But you would think that everyone would have the baselines, you know?
Everyone would have the what?
The baseline, like the baseline things that will make you You know what I'm saying? What make you unique will be your unique powers. You get what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, even though you have unique powers, your scale is a 99, just like their scale is a 99.
Oh,
Fair
I
enough.
see. Fair enough.
Mhm.
So it's like you can't really say one is stronger than the other. Like I'm almost coming to that realization because you know what I'm saying, I am a Suns fan, but I shut up during the conversation most of the time because y'all make great points, and I just believe what I believe type thing. But now it's coming to a head where it's like I don't know, like they pretty much equal. If you really if you put it all out on paper and you put it on scale, I think both of their scale would be if Luffy's a 99, then they're both like 90s, you know?
Well, that's what. Here's what I was gonna say. So, listen, I get what you're saying, but for me personally, if we're gonna put it in those terms, I think if Zoro's 100, Sanji's a 99.5.
That's very close. You know, don't you guys think
Yeah.
like don't you guys think that it's actually extremely impressive how close Sanji is to Zoro for the persona of Sanji?
Yes,
Yeah.
Sanji
Barehanded,
is like
no
a
less.
chef.
For this to be an argument, yes. Yes, I
the
do.
German
Like
the German
because like in the
modifications
beginning,
are nuts, dog.
Yeah,
yes, but
you
in the
think about
beginning
this.
we saw Zoro, his workout regimen. It was absolutely
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, it was
It was
insane. It
absolutely
still
nuts.
is.
And all Sanjay was doing was finding new recipes. Like I like that that's
He was
not even
just literally
comparable.
cooking and
You
washing
know,
dishes.
yeah, it's not comparable. So for them to be this close and we still have
So
to have this
so
conversation, it
so
Bro,
got to get more
let me
respect.
ask a question.
It
I
has to
almost
get more
wonder.
respect.
Let me
Yo,
ask a
I almost
question.
wonder if Sanji actually cared about strength and was training all day. Oh no, is he going to surpass Zoro?
Let me ask a question. So one thing I think we can agree on is Zoro, out of all the Straw Hats, Zoro trains the most. The second
Yes.
most would be Luffy, because Luffy trained a lot as a kid, trained a lot to get his fruit, to where he thought it
No.
needed to be at the time. Yeah, he did. He
Usopp
trained.
trains second. Usopp trains the most secondly.
No,
Luffy don't.
Luffy
Luffy
trained
eat all day.
twice. He trained to get his fruit to have he said, I will have the punches of a pistol. And he trained with Rayleigh. So I would say Luffy is trained the second most out of all the Straw Hats.
But we
Hold
you
on,
mean
we
like
got a super
casual?
chat. We got
We
a
mean like
super chat
casual?
from Bigna.
I
Sorry, we
mean,
got a
Garp
super
wanted
chat from
him
a
to be
Bigna.
a Navy soldier. Garp was training them too.
Hey, sorry, we got a super chat from a Bigna with the 100. Thank you so much, brother. God bless your soul, man. Thank you.
God
I
bless you,
greatly
bro.
appreciate it. He says, Whataburger is the only fast food chain that starts with a W. No, Wendy's.
Wendy's.
Yeah, dude.
Wingstop. Wingstop, kind of.
Wendy's, Wingstop. What's another one?
Wawa, that's technically fast food.
Wawa.
Yeah, they have sandwiches. Yeah, they have sandwiches. I would count that.
Walmart, because sometimes they'll have the store inside.
Walmart. Come on.
I know that's a reach. That's a reach.
That's a reach.
That was a cheap shot. No, but what kind of super chat is this? Why are you asking this?
Somebody
The
who's
hell?
got food on the brain. Maybe he got the munchies.
But he
Yeah.
can only specifically eat at the places with a W at the beginning.
Always specifically. Ooh.
Only specifically.
Oh well, yeah,
Whataburger is the
Walmart.
only fast food chain that starts with a W. Can you guys imagine saying dragon saying Zaza ill? Wendy's nuts hit your face. Okay, you're not funny, dude. You're a bozo. You're a bum.
$140 for that joke.
Yeah, I hope
It
that was
wasn't
worth
even that.
140.
Hey, commit to the bit. You know VP likes it. So
Why would you like this?
because I respect the commitment to the bit.
No, this Abigna is just He's the worst. Guys, I hate to break it to you as well. We are going to be wrapping up in a few minutes, but we'll be live for the long summary. I hope it doesn't drop too soon. No offense, guys. I hope it drops a little late so that we can stream on time for once. So we are going to end in a few minutes, but we'll be live for the spoilers, chapter reaction. Guys, I'm sorry there was no chapter last week. Once again, busy. But we got to do a open mic this next week. We have to, chat. You guys got to force me. We got to pick a date. I can't miss it. I can't. You see, today, like, it's hard for me to stream on this day of the week because I have church at night. So I got home very late. And I had to. Yeah. I actually had to eat my dinner I had to eat within 10 minutes and then I went live. So I didn't even shower or anything yet. So hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from, but maybe we can have the open mic on a different day. Maybe not on this day. Maybe Friday. But the problem with Friday is I feel like we don't have a stream from Sunday all the way to Friday. Also, I'm going out of town next Wednesday. So we're going to stream long summary, chapter reaction. Maybe somehow Monday or Tuesday we could sneak in another stream open mic. What do you guys think?
Let's do it. I mean, we can't take these weeks for granted because the end is coming.
No, don't remind me, man.
It is.
I don't want One Piece to end. I'll cry. I'll cry on stream.
Good things may come.
Well, hopefully
to
we'll be
an
alive
end.
when someone else
All
make a new
bad
story about the
things
same.
can't wait to begin.
Bro, there's never going to be another One Piece.
Never. One
I
Piece
don't
must live forever.
I don't
Like,
think
you don't
there'll
think
ever be
You
anything
don't
like
think he'll
One
sell the
Piece.
rights?
Oh, hell no. No, I mean, I meant like,
Story
not like
wise.
literally like a sequel. I mean like another story like One Piece.
Like it'll be
Oh,
so
yeah.
unique. It'll be
Yeah.
remembered forever.
Yeah. Yes, it will. It's more unique than on Harry Potter now. So yeah, it's already there.
You guys like One Piece more than Harry Potter? Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Much more.
I never got into
So
Harry
it's much
Potter.
more intricate. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. But it
I
does
saw
get
this,
a little confusing.
I saw
said
this
you get a little
video.
what?
Confusing. Too many characters
Gets a
start
little
getting
confusing.
involved. Yeah, too many characters. Like start getting too many characters and stuff like that.
I saw this video the other day about this comparison between Harry Potter and Star Wars, and just how it's just this orphan kid that has to force to live with their aunt and uncle, and then one day an old dude shows up and tells him about an ancient magic, so he has to go somewhere to fight an ancient evil.
Damn, that's overly simplified, but I see it.
Dude, that's like 90 different storylines right there.
I know. I may have butchered
That's funny, though.
actual. May have butchered the info a little bit.
Oh man, I'm due for a Star Wars rewatch. Every year or two, I gotta go through episodes 1 through 6 again.
It
On a
was
binge.
just
You gotta watch
May
that.
the 4th the other day.
Hey,
Yeah.
are you guys gonna watch the Mandalorian movie coming out?
I was about to ask.
Oh, that's what you're gonna ask.
I was going to ask you that.
No.
My wife is telling me, hey, chat, everyone in text and everyone in voice, my wife is begging you guys to watch a Lean Cage. She doesn't believe me when I said that, or when I claim to have spammed a Lean Cage. Have I not told you guys repeatedly to watch Lean Cage?
Yes.
What is that?
Okay, Lean
What is it about?
Cage, hear me out. It is a Chinese anime, but the animation in this anime will blow your mind. You'll never see anything like it, and the storyline is immediately peak. I don't know how they did it, but the animation and the storyline is immediately peak. You don't need to go, oh, bro, give it a chance, man. Watch till episode 40. No, bro, it's peak right off the bat.
So
It's
for
on
me,
YouTube. Watch it.
Oh, it's on
How many
YouTube. Okay.
And Anime Cube.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Can we watch it in the US? But you answered.
Yeah.
that.
It's on YouTube or Anime Cube. It is phenomenal. I give it my strongest cosign, especially
How
bro,
many
season
episodes
2 is
in the
nuts.
season?
I think it's like 12 episodes a season.
Okay, that's not bad.
45 minutes an episode, I think.
Oh,
What?
that's not bad at all.
Oh yeah, that's
I could
crazy.
easily commit a day or two to it.
One thing I will tell you about Link, there's many things I like about Linkage, but one thing that stuck out to me is it's not like, you know, traditional anime or like One Piece anime where like the first 10 minutes is like a recap of the last episode and like the pacing is just sluggish as hell. It's none of that, bro. It's like straight to the point. Let's go. Like,
Yeah, I hated that. That was throughout the whole cake arc in the anime, and that just pissed me the hell off.
Dressrosa.
Dressrosa was a slugfest in the anime, dog.
Yeah.
Bro, every single episode of Dressrosa was like a recap of the arc, and it had Rebecca crying. Like the same. I think they took the recap and just put it in every single episode for like 60 episodes straight. And then, like, throughout the episodes, they would sprinkle it in, like Rebecca crying, like, "Oh, I'm gonna save my daddy." Dressrosa. This is just
Like they just spam it every 20 minutes.
yeah. It's like, oh my, her crying again. But anyways, Linkage, this is such an awesome show. I wouldn't be, you know, so hype about it, co-signing it so much if I didn't think you guys would love it. Apparently it's the top anime in Japan. In China, sorry, and they put like an insane amount of money into animating it, and you'll be able to tell when you watch it. They put millies.
So is it dubbed for English or is it sub for English or?
It's sub.
Both?
It's English sub right now.
Okay.
Maybe in the future they'll have dub. Dude, I can't get over like. So each season's like 12, 13, 14 episodes, and they only have 2 seasons. So it's only like 24 through 26 episodes, somewhere around there. The end of season 2, I don't know, it might have been the craziest fight I've ever seen in any anime. And I've watched One Piece, Naruto, Berserk, Hunter x Hunter. I've watched my fair share, but that
is a very, very, very strong claim right there.
If you could compare it to one fight we've seen in One Piece, what would you compare it to?
Oh, this is way, dude. Animation wise, it's not even close. It's not even close. In Linkage, it just blows any One Piece animation out of the water.
Fate Night Stay. You ever watch that?
I have seen a bit of that actually. Yeah, that has some pretty sick animation.
Some of that has some. What? Oh man, some of the greatest fight scenes to me, if you ask.
Yeah,
it just pains me because like it pains me because Linkage, right? Linkage, it pains me because this is like one of those things where it's hard to talk about it without spoiling things. It is just,
I see.
Okay, the premise, like you could get this from episode 1. Basically, there's a bunch of like alien monsters that live on the ground, so everyone has to live in like a floating fortress.
Oh,
and
shit,
they call it the
so
lighthouse.
Cool. I'm already hooked in. That premise sounds sick. No, I mean, think about it. You get introduced to this world, and you're like, oh, they're just people living in the clouds. And then they're like, oh, wait, they're living in the clouds because there's some monsters down there that want to eat them.
Yeah, I would love to add more details, but I don't want to spoil it. It's like Attack on Titan. My wife was telling me that.
Okay, now I got it.
She said it's like Attack on Titan plus Alien versus Predator.
Oh, okay.
Which one? I don't know. Which one?
Which one?
Yeah, 1 or 2.
1 or 2 of Alien versus Predator. She doesn't know. Just the concept of Alien versus Predator, just aliens and humans, I guess. But that show's awesome, dude. I would love to give more details, but I mean, I don't want to spoil it. You guys should definitely watch it though. You will not regret it.
Yeah.
Because I mean I can guess your guys' taste in things because we like One Piece. So, you know, I could kind of envision stuff you guys would be interested in. But anyways, any last thoughts on the spoilers, guys, before we wrap it up here? Any last things you guys want to say?
Drink water.
Give me the water bottle. Smokey said I got to drink water.
Okay, I got something about the spoilers. When they mentioned um about the rain goddess and how the celestial dragons are afraid of the rain, what implications could they possibly mean by they're afraid of the rain god? Like,
I
why would they
So
be
from what
afraid
I
of something?
from what I've read, that it's not, that the leakers are being vague about it, and that Redon says that it's more likely that the people of the Holy Land feared the rain god the most, not exactly the world government.
I
So
would
maybe
say that the implications is that there is a history behind the celestial dragons and a rain god.
that's what I'm thinking as well. Because the people of the Holy Land just tells me that the celestial dragons themselves fear this god more than any
Because
other
you
god.
know the key detail here, if we're trusting the spoilers, the leakers could be wrong, right? They say Killingham creates his strongest creation yet using the fear of his own dreams, who the world government fears most. So I think the reason he has a fear along with the world government is because in the past the rain god did X, Y, and Z to celestial dragons. And they heard about it. This story passed through generation to generation.
okay. So
So
you
we would
said that the
assume that
rain
the rain
god.
god is on the ancient kingdom side.
The rain god what?
Is on the ancient kingdom side.
I
Maybe,
mean, it could be, or it's even third party. Maybe Rain God wasn't either side, but I mean, yeah, it's possible it was pro Ancient Kingdom. Yeah,
yeah, because in
My
the Greek gods, right? You know, the war, the Greeks, you know, they'll take sides of their favorite cities, or sometimes they'll be neutral and step out. Gods, I think they choose those things on a whim. In a lot of stories, a lot of mythologies, they choose when to intervene, and mostly they step back. So the ancient kingdom having a god on their side versus another side with another god on their side kind of makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense. I can understand they fear the Rain God because their enemy, the Rain God, was a part of the same team of their pre-established enemy of the Ancient Kingdom. So it must be that the Rain God's the part of the Ancient Kingdom. I completely understand the logic, but I do think there's like that, like what Smokey's saying, there's like that open possibility that the Rain God was actually a third party. Now, I don't know how likely that is. That could be very unlikely. I don't know, but I guess it's
I
possible,
mean,
right?
if it is a third party, that would fit into the dragon thing because he is the third party. So
You mean like in the sense of Celestials, Luffy, Pirates, but then Revs?
yes.
Fair enough.
But in my mind, I was actually thinking more of the literal fact that in this chapter we could see that Zaza could flood an entire village. So I could just see that and be like, she could summon enough water to push all the celestial dragons off the wall and have them plunge to their death because they're so high up, they'll go down
That's
hard.
It
insane.
may it makes sense that that's the person that flooded the earth in the world in
She's probably
the, the Harley
they,
test.
pl- they probably blame her for the floodings that they're currently in now.
She was probably one of the core reasons they needed a Noah's Ark.
Yeah, yeah, that could
That's
be,
pretty much what you
and
guys
that
are
would
saying.
be that would that, so I see it. Since you said that, my brain went up like, oh, rain, you know, sea, water, all same domain. The people of her domain rose up and built an ark to try and get away from her.
What you mean, her own people?
What would
Like
it get away from her?
Or she was
when she was flooding the earth, like the fishermen,
Right,
they
right.
reached out to
Yeah.
Joy Boy, and they were like, "Oh man, our God's going crazy. We need to get out of here."
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Okay.
You know, like if the rain god was apart or even from Fishman Island, that wouldn't actually be like, it would be hard to have friendly fire because your people are fishmen and your island is underwater. So you couldn't really like friendly fire your own nation, your own people, if
Right.
she
That's
was from
why.
Fishman Island.
Right.
No,
That's why I
well,
never
see,
believed that the ark was built for
I'm
the
not
fish.
saying she's a fisherman. I'm just saying like because like her domain is water.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
like,
saying that you're saying that either. I was just thinking like that
okay,
because like a rain god almost seems like one of those kinds of things where like you can easily like wreck your own home on accident or like slaughter
exactly,
your own people on accident. But
exactly.
if her people were fishmen, like that's actually that make like that seems like to align very well.
well, maybe that was the
I'm thinking that's the
betrayal
condition.
that took place like 200 years ago. I think they said there was some kind of betrayal when Emmett was
Yeah.
first awakened.
I don't remember the betrayal aspect. Oh
I
wait, are
do
you talking
remember.
about Nami? Nami said that the
No.
fishmen got rights. Was that what you're talking about?
I think that's around the time.
Yeah, the
In
fishermen
the Harley
got
Tale, they
rights
said
like
that the rain
200 years ago.
got in range
Okay.
and flooded the world.
Now,
What it
Emus
raised.
also woke up 200 years ago. So the fisherman getting right, it's an not emu, Emmett waking up 200 years ago coincide.
Yeah, you know, the key thing to remember about that is that this was presented by Oda in a very intentional way, because when they talk about Emith powering up, they in that specific moment, Oda goes and has Nami mention, "Hey, isn't it the same time that Fishman got rights? Is there a connection?" Like Oda's literally saying, "Hey, these two things probably have a connection." That's much different than like if we pulled like one random panel out from Fishman Island and then we're putting it next to one random panel from Egghead. You see how like the former, the first one, is one moment taking place, but then the latter is like two separate panels far away
Right.
from each other.
So
You
Oda
guys see?
basically wanted to convey that point in the most efficient way. He
Yeah,
said, "Let me convey this straight to you in one panel,
he
so you don't have
need
to go search."
from his perspective, you can argue whether that's because Oda is going to set you up for an expectation and then bait and switch. I understand that perspective, or you can argue that like maybe he didn't remember to mention that detail back in Fishman Island. Regardless of which side you lean on, I think at the least both sides could agree that Oda wants the reader to think about this. Oda wants the reader to think about, hey, Fishman Island and her citizens got rights 200 years ago, and that was the same exact time to Emith powering up, and they're probably connected. Oda wants you to think that way, whether you think it's to trick you and bait and switch, or whether you think that it's a legitimate question or a legitimate connection. That's up to you, but Oda wants you to think about the two together.
So what about the fisherman rights is what woke up Emmett? You get what I'm saying? Like how there's a connection maybe, but I don't see what them getting rights did to wake up Emmett when we saw that Emmett only woken up with the drums of liberation. You get
So
what I'm
I
Yeah,
saying?
had,
So
yeah.
I
So
had,
well, my original, and I gotta end soon, so I'll answer this, and then you guys can answer, and then we'll probably wrap it up here. But I never made this into a video. I was thinking years ago, like maybe not years ago, but like a while back. It could be the case that the Tamate Bako box at Fishman Island that had the pills that make people look like an aged up Gear 5 Luffy, that it had the Nika fruit with it. So when the Fishman Island citizens got rights, they tried to revive Emith with the Nika fruit, and that the Nika fruit was in the same box with the pills. And that's why the rights of the fishmen coincide with E-Myth booting up. But I don't remember. Like, I think I went into like a Google Docs and I think I wrote out like a full-fledged explanation, but I don't know what happened to it. I'll pass the mic to you guys.
So for me, I think like something happened. When the fishermen got rights, that put Fishman Island in peril. We know that Joy Boy had a fondness for Fishman Island, so perhaps E-Myth felt like the struggle and it woke him up, something like that. You know?
Yeah. Well,
He was so deeply connected to Fishman.
Yeah.
that, yeah. Mm.
Maybe E-Myth powering up caused the Fishmen to get rights. Maybe like they had like a revolution. Maybe they had like a war.
Yeah. Okay.
Remember when Joy Boy gave E-Myth the hockey knot, he said, "Here, use this when there's something you want to protect." Perhaps E-Myth felt like he needed to protect them and wanted to use it, but he realized it wasn't time, and he solved the issue another way.
You know, because I think like, for an example, right? American Civil War, they needed to have this war, and then black people started getting some rights and privileges and started getting a little bit more respect, right? So maybe it was similar for E-Myth, where E-Myth powered up 200 years ago. They, you know, him and a bunch of fishmen, they got to a fat war or whatever, and then fishmen, they got rights. So maybe that's how they're connected. But then it just kicks the can further down the road, because you still haven't, or we, right, Eddie, you still haven't answered how E-Myth powered up.
All right.
For me,
we saw it was the drums of liberation, and that's the crux of this whole thing. Is there another way for this robot to power up? When we saw that Megapunk couldn't do it, we saw that even we saw that it interest Saturn so much that he wanted to keep it. So it's almost like maybe there could be a possible scenario where he never needed nothing to power up. He just is sleep on his own. He could wake up on his own. He's sentient, so he doesn't need nothing to power up. When the get up, I would say maybe to get strength, and you know what I'm saying, that give fifth strength or whatever. Maybe he does need the drums of liberation, but just to wake up on his own, maybe he just can do that like automatically, like just off GP.
A
And
timer.
that,
He's like a
yeah,
robot that had a timer.
for me, I
right,
think
and
they
that is how he
have.
woke up to begin with. Go ahead.
For me, I was just gonna say, for me, maybe the drums of liberation is one way to wake him up, but there could, if there are four gods and each of them have their own different beat, what if that means that there's four different songs for the four different gods, like the drums of liberation for Nika, the sirens of salvation for the water goddess,
I like how he did that.
Emu's
Yeah, just
having
a
his own song, isn't he?
yeah, like
Yeah, he does.
we
And
really
that's why it makes sense. I like how he did that. That's kind of that kind of makes sense. But then
Emu's got the drums of oppression.
Drums of
and since
slavery.
we know that this has something to do with sound, right? Like the gods have something to do with sound and waking up, and it has something to do with sound, then it could be that the other all
Maybe
we need to
another
do to
god woke
figure
him
out
up and
yeah,
manipulated him.
all yeah.
maybe
And all we
Emu
need to do
woke
is
up
figure out the
Emmet to trick
names.
everyone.
All we need to do to figure out the names of the other gods is just figure out the sounds of what it sound like
But
when
see,
they're
this would actually point to Emu being one of the gods then.
and I don't have a problem with that because
I don't
Yeah,
either.
I
it could be
mean,
it could be that the rain god in Imu was the reason it flooded way back when, you know?
so
That could have
what
been a
my
couple.
And that would just point to Emu being the forest god because the
Mm.
devil's in the second world. If you
My
And
believe
before it
takeaway-
came
canon.
to life, the wood came to
takeaway from
life
this.
when he came through.
My takeaway
Go
from
ahead.
this is that just because the drums of liberation powers up E-Myth nowadays doesn't mean that other drums from other people can't power up E-Myth. Like,
Right.
just because
Yeah.
I can charge my phone doesn't mean Smokey can't use his charger to charge my phone.
Yeah, I got a universal charger.
All right. I would love to carry on, but it's already quite late here. Guys, thank you so much for being here, chat. Shout out to Sherm, Vincent, Smokey, L, J
Yo,
Marks.
2 weeks, come join me in the Discord. It'll be the exact same way as a stream, except we'll be in Discord. So
You
we
guys
can be
heard
a
him.
little more unrestrained. You did.
You guys heard him. Go to the Discord starting in 2 weeks. Young Smokey, I'll try to hop in. He will have events on the Discord server where we can all talk about whatever we want, super unfiltered, versus YouTube where we have to censor ourselves so we don't get punished. Please join the Discord server, guys, so you guys can hop in those calls and debate Smokey, share theories, geopolitics, religion, One Piece, whatever you want. I'll try to hop in. He has some great plans starting in 2 weeks, but you guys will miss out on that completely if you guys are not in the Discord server. So !Discord in the YouTube stream chat to get the link. But without further ado, we're gonna wrap this up here. Thank you guys greatly for being here. I appreciate all of you, especially the people who supported the stream, like Smokey with the huge dono, a big enough for the supers. I greatly appreciate all of you. Take care, everyone. Hope everyone has a great morning, day, or night, wherever you guys are. You guys are great people, awesome people, great discussions. I will catch you guys very soon. 1182 long summary. But
Yes, sir.
peace, everybody.
No man out.